Questions for David? Andy?
Carlos told us he didn't have the result yet on Senga, but do you have any indication of the severity you're dealing with, or are you just waiting on that?
We're just waiting on that. And yeah, I imagine with all these things, we try to run it through various physicians, try to get as many opinions as possible. He might be in the tube right now, so we don't have anything.
John?
I was going to say that could be it. You guys, you don't have to come up with something here, John.
No, I got plenty more with that.
Okay.
Your expectations for the pitching were much higher than most of ours, but have they exceeded your expectations? And how much a part of that is Jeremy Hefner, you think?
Have they exceeded my? I don't know that. I don't know that I could come into a season and say that I expected our starting staff to have a sub-3 ERA. I expect us to have a good starting rotation, a good pitching rotation, but sure, I think a sub-3 ERA probably exceeds my expectations, especially when you add on the injuries we had in camp. But I also saw reason to believe that each of the guys who are in the rotation mix could and would be successful. You never know whether it's going to work, but we had reason to believe for all of them that there were things that they could do, things that in certain cases we could help them do, that would lead them to success and be able to contribute to a winning rotation. And in terms of where Hef comes into this, he's been outstanding. Hef, our entire pitching group, Desi, Rosie, Danny Barnes is part of this, our catching infrastructure, Sherrills is part of this, being able to communicate with pitchers, and I've talked about this before, really meeting them where they are, understanding what each pitcher is looking to achieve, where they are in their careers, how they want to get better, and working with them to help them be the best versions of themselves. And I think Hef does that extremely well and is aided by a really talented group around him as well.
Mike?
David, obviously a lot can happen, and I mean we saw that yesterday with Senga, but just how mentally challenging is it for you trying to put puzzle pieces together right now? Because even with Senga down, you're potentially going to have more starting pitchers here than slots, and just what's the mental challenge of that right now?
It's not that much of a mental challenge. I mean, there are. It's a good thing to have more major league quality starting pitchers than less. I'm frankly never really concerned about having too much because, as we saw last night and as I've experienced throughout my career, it's very, very rare where you actually get to the point where you have too many starting pitchers than you can roster. And if somehow at some point we get to that this season, I'll have to make some decisions, and I imagine those will be difficult decisions. But for now, I am very happy with how the group that we've had to this point has pitched. I'm excited that we continue to get healthier and get guys like Frankie and then ultimately Sean back in the rotation. I think that will make us stronger, certainly deeper. And so that's where my mind is right now. If we do get to the point where everyone is healthy at once, then yes, that will lead to some challenging decisions.
And a couple of IL guys, Winker and Siri, kind of where are they at right now?
Yeah. So Wink continues to progress through his movement screens, his hitting progressions. I think we're still multiple weeks away from a rehab assignment there on Wink. On Siri, Siri's had a little bit of a setback. We had it re-imaged this past week, showed the bone had not healed as well as we had hoped. So we're going to have to back him off of running, of baseball activities here for a little while. We're going to have to get it re-imaged in a couple weeks and then restart his progression. So we're a ways away on Siri.
Laura?
You've had a few pitchers who are considered just successful reclamation projects. Is there a specific skill set or personality type that you look for when you're targeting these guys for improvement?
I think it undersells who these guys are when we look at them or label them as Reclamation project. The pitchers who have come in here and have had success are really talented major league pitchers and had proven prior to coming here that they were really talented major league pitchers at various points in their careers. Maybe not for the sustained periods that they would have liked or expected of themselves, but these are very talented pitchers. And so that's the common thread among all of them, is that they're good pitchers, they have good stuff, they've had success at the major league level, and maybe there are things that they had gotten away from, or maybe there are things that we noticed that we can help them get a little bit better at. But the underlying commonality among all of them is that they're talented, and they come in here and they've worked hard, and for the most part, we've had some decent results out of it.
Howie?
David, as you look ahead the next 2-3 months, is the success that kids like Tong and McLean are having in the minor leagues put them in a situation where they're mutually exclusive from the numbers of experienced major league pitchers that you have around here and that are coming back, to the point that they would be less likely, assuming continued success, to even potentially force their way onto the staff because you have veterans here? Or is there still an opening for either, both, or others to somehow ascend to the big leagues this year?
I think we are going to make those types of decisions based exclusively on who and what grouping of players gives us the best chance to win. And so if we have a prospect that gets to the point that we believe gives us the best chance to win over someone else, we are going to strongly consider that. With that said, I think the volume of established major league pitchers we have makes that a steeper hill to climb for a prospect at this point. We have pitchers at the major league level who we really believe in, who have proven that they can pitch at a high level. And so for a prospect to jump that, especially in the independent race, is a high bar. Not an impossible bar, but it's a high bar.
John?
Blackburn is needed in the rotation now, I guess, for probably Wednesday. Wanted to ask what the interest level from outside teams was when he was briefly in the bullpen, and also, while we don't know the severity of the injury for Senga, we can assume he's going to go on the IL. I think that's
Senga's going on the IL. Yeah, we placed him on the IL. Right. Yeah. Okay. And Max Kranick is back here. Okay, so and I'm not going to comment on any conversations that may or may not have happened.
Abby?
What kind of reports have you been getting on Montaz throughout his rehab assignment?
I think he's still feeling his way back. This was a fairly significant lat injury. He did a good job working through his progression, and I think he's still searching a little bit. And so we've got another one. We've got another one tonight, and then we'll have another one likely, I think, next week. And those are two big outings for him. But I think physically we're probably trending in the right direction, and now it's just getting him back into the rhythm. This is very similar to a spring training ramp-up, where you try not to focus on results too much early in the ramp, and then as you get a little bit later in the ramp, you'd like to start seeing outs, and I think that's where Frankie is right now.
So he'll have two more. I'm trying to count the numbers in my head, but I'm not good at doing math. Would that be sort of the end of his rehab clock?
I think we'll take it there. I mean, we got to make sure we have a healthy player and a player who is ready to compete at the major league level. So we definitely have one more. I think we likely have two more, and then we'll take it from there.
On a different note, you've known Tyrone Taylor for a very long time. What did you see in him back when he was with the Brewers, and is this what you expected, what he would be doing defensively?
Yeah, this is the same player, and it's the same person that I got to know back in Milwaukee. It's a very talented outfielder who can play all three positions at a high level. He does a lot of the little things that help you win baseball games, and he's done that throughout his career. He's a very good teammate. Guys love being around him. He'll fill any role on the team, and it does seem like every night he's doing something, even if it doesn't show up in the box score, he's doing something to help us win.
He was a little bit of a late bloomer. Just why do you think that was?
And I think that's fair. Look, he's drafted out of high school. It took him a little time to get going in his career. He had some injuries throughout his minor league progression, and He's one of those guys that used up his minor league reserve years, then used up all 3 option years as he was breaking into the major leagues before he really completely solidified himself as a major league player. And so it did take him a little while to get going, but with the end product of that is a really good major league player who helps us win games.
Tim?
Senga obviously had the 2 long IL stints last year. What did you learn about the way he likes to rehab that you can apply, however long he's out this time?
Senga, as a lot of players, but particularly Senga, he wants to be involved in the process. And I think it's important that we get on the same page as him from the jump, and that we're all bought into what this process is going to look like. I think we got there last year, but anytime you're going through this multiple times, I certainly know Senga a lot better now than I did last year. Our medical staff has now worked through a rehab progression and a rehab process with him already on multiple occasions. So I think we feel pretty comfortable that whatever this turns out to be, we're going to be able to work very productively with him to get him back healthy.
Manny?
Just Brandon Sproat had a difficult, a rough start to the season, has settled down the last 3-4 starts. Just what have you seen from him recently?
I think he's getting back to a couple of different things that he did very well in AA. The first is he's attacking, and the second is he's using the entirety of his arsenal pretty well. So we saw the curveball come out a little bit more last night, which we think is a good pitch for him, important. At the appropriate times, he's leaning on the changeup when that is the needed pitch. He's not just trying to blow fastballs by guys. And this is a talented pitcher with multiple weapons, and sometimes you need to learn again and again that you need to lean on your entire arsenal. He's got 3 above average pitches, and when he's using all 3 at the appropriate time, he's really effective.
Keith?
Right now, Jose Castillo is the only lefty in the bullpen. I know Brooks Raley's coming back, but as you didn't want to lose A.J. Minter and Danny Young for the season, but how do you see the future of that spot in the bullpen, and do you need a lefty or multiple lefties down the stretch?
We need guys who can get left-handed hitters out. Often that is people who throw with the left hand, but it doesn't have to be. Like we pursued aggressively and acquired A.J. Minter for a reason, right? We thought he fit us very well. He was doing exactly what we had hoped he was going to do and filling that role. Losing him is a big loss, and we're not going to be able to explicitly replace what he meant to our team. So we're going to have to figure out a way to cobble that together. Whether it's in August, September, October, we're going to be facing very good left-handed hitters in leverage spots, and we're going to have pitchers who can get them out. Some of those guys are probably on our roster right now. And then to the extent we can continue to balance our pen with additional players who can get lefties out, we're going to look to do that.
Jerry?
David over here. What else, in addition to good health, has allowed David Peterson to emerge as the pitcher he's become for you guys? And what does his success, after almost 10 years with this organization, say and do for a player development system?
I think first and foremost is a testament to the perseverance and dedication that David has demonstrated over that time. And he's worked incredibly hard to get to this point in his career. Good health is a big part of it. I think he also fully understands who he is as a pitcher. And he does so many little things well as a pitcher. He fills up the zone. He throws multiple fastballs for strikes. He controls the running game. He keeps the ball on the ground. And so you add up all of those little things, in addition to I think sometimes like his stuff package gets undersold a little bit, but he's flashing pretty decent stuff most nights. So I think you add all of that up, and you have a really good major league pitcher. That's what he's demonstrated.
Andrew?
How would you assess what you've seen from Ronnie Mauricio since he's been up at the major league level?
This is, I think, more or less what we expected from Ronnie. There are flashes of real excitement. He's contributed to wins. You can see the potential for a really exciting baseball player. And we also recognize that this is a player who hadn't played baseball for a year and a half and still has development remaining. There's going to be some challenges controlling the strike zone. He's still getting comfortable playing defensively. We're challenging him to play multiple positions. He's getting work at multiple positions. That's not easy to do at the major league level. But the future is really bright for Ronnie, and the fact that he's able to contribute to a very good team at the major league level this shortly after coming back from an extensive injury is pretty cool.
You've talked about the need to play, through your development. How do you kind of weigh that, obviously, with Mark being on, approaching his return with some of those younger guys, who gets playing time, maybe who goes back down to AAA?
Yeah, it's a constant discussion, and the playing time carousel and puzzle is one that you're always talking about. And we've got a bunch of good players on the infield, a bunch of good young players on the infield. I'm actually pretty pleased with how they've all gotten a fairly substantial amount of playing time over these first couple months in the season. And when Mark comes back, we're going to have to make another decision about how to allocate that playing time. But we'll make that decision when we need to.
Mike?
Since Keith brought up Raley, where is he close to a minor league rehab assignment yet? Where is he in?
So he's throwing his lives. I think if all goes well, you could be looking at a rehab assignment some point next week. I think that to begin. But this is he's also coming back from a significant surgery. So this is not a short rehab assignment. I think this is we got to go through a full, again, spring training ramp, make sure he's ready to go. So could start next week, but you might be looking at a full 30 days there.
Okay. The other thing, what do you think of the season Pete is having? And could you envision there being contract talks during the season, or do you think it's just going to wait until after the season to see what happens?
I'm not going to touch any sort of contract talk discussion, but he's having a tremendous year, and he, he's been an enormous offensive component of our team. I think our lineup is now, as a whole, functioning at a really high level, and as we envisioned. And Pete's been right in the middle of all of it since day one. He's, I think, really taken his offensive game to another level, and it's been fun to see.
Laura?
You've had a number of pitchers who've outstripped their expected ERA. I was wondering how you look at that metric and whether you think it has value in determining where the season's going to go, essentially.
I don't look at expected ERA a lot. I think certainly there are different predictive metrics help inform us on different things. For the most part, we're largely focused on what is coming out of the pitcher's hand. Are they throwing strikes? How are they throwing strikes? And so I don't look at our staff and see pitchers based on what they've done to this point in the season who are vastly overachieving. I think by and large our staff has deserved the results they've gotten. That's performing at a very high level, and to maintain these results going forward, we're going to have to continue to perform at a very high level. But I don't look at any particular pitcher and saying this person is vastly over or getting more credit or overachieving what he deserves to be doing right now.
Very good. Thank you very much, David.
Thanks.